All right, so the Nearpod code for this session is going to be TSUZF. So please open another tab and go to Nearpod and then type in that code. Again, I dropped that in the chat as well. The Nearpod code TSUZF. Give me a thumbs up when you have the Nearpod slide up and ready to go. This is the Edulastic Training 2020, and you can use that little thumbs up button emoji when you are ready to go with the Nearpod. See lots of thumbs up. I'll give another few seconds. Missed. All right. So hopefully everyone was able to get logged in. So hopefully before this meeting, you guys were able to watch some tutorial videos. Last Friday, an email was sent out with some links to it. These were two of those links. One of them was just the premium version on Edulastic, and then the other one was on the Edulastic updates that came out over the summer. There are YouTube channels for Edulastic. If you guys want to click on that and check it out, I'm just going to show you some of the other YouTube videos that you guys could watch. If you guys scroll down here, there's a ton of videos in our YouTube channel, but I would point you guys to these Edulastic 2020 tutorial videos. There's tons of how do I make this type of question, just common responses that they have. So I would encourage you to check those out. So just a quick poll. Well, I'm presenting this, so go ahead and answer that. Were you able to watch some of those Edulastic tutorial videos last Friday or sometime prior to this? Please respond to the poll. And this kind of helps judge how in depth I need to go. All right, looks like the majority have responded. So we have a lot of people that have not been able to watch any of those tutorial videos. So we'll see if we can hopefully guide you guys through this. So our learning targets today, our learning target is that by the end of the lesson, I will be able to navigate through Edulastic website and create an Edulastic assessment as evidenced by that assessment. Success criteria, this is all the stuff I hope to get through today. How to log in, preview sample assessments, navigate the toolbar, create assessment items, assigning assessments to classes, sharing assessment with colleagues, understanding playlists, live data in live sessions, how to navigate some of those live session tools, understanding data-driven with Edulastic, reviewing past previously assigned assessments, and the grade book. So based on that learning target and success criteria, once you guys kind of rate yourself on your comfortability with Edulastic, 1 being I've never used it before in my life, 2 being I used it a few times, 3 I've never used it, or I've used it before. I can't even see all the responses. You guys have it in front of you. So I'll try to monitor the chat as well as we go through this. If you guys do have questions, feel free to drop it in the chat, or you feel like it's urgent or pertains to what I was talking about, go ahead and unmute and ask away. We want to make sure all your answers or your questions are answered, so feel free. All right, we got about 52% have never used it before. We got 2% that said you could teach this training. That's probably Mr. Osario. All right. So looks like we got a lot of people that never used it, so we'll try to take this slow. All right, so first, how do we log into Edulastic? Go ahead and click on that link, get you to edulastic.com, and you should see a screen like mine on the right here. Again, just getting into the main Edulastic webpage. From here, you're going to click on the login, which is in the upper right-hand corner. You may have to click those 3 bars depending if you have it full screen or not, and then go down here to log in. Now, when you guys click on login, you are going to log in with Clever, and you should already have your classes pre-filled. Mine was already set to log in automatically. You might have to go through a couple more steps if this is your first time logging in. Log in with Clever. You may have to search your school and then log in with Google. Give me a thumbs up if you are logged in and at your dashboard. Give me a thumbs up emoji. Clever is a program that syncs PowerSchool and other apps so that as PowerSchool updates, say the roster changes, kids add or drop, it automatically does it in Edulastic or other programs as well. So you should log in with Clever first and then log in with Google. If you log in with just Google that first time, it may not pull up the right account. All right. So saw a lot of thumbs up. Hopefully everyone was able to get logged in. You can hit the little hand raise button if you're struggling to log in, so I know if you need more assistance. All right. So we have a couple sample assessments. The first sample assessment, I try to create a couple questions, per subject, and also ones that kind of demonstrated the types of questions that you guys can ask on Edulastic. So I'm going to let you guys go ahead and click on that sample assessment. It's going to pull up another screen, and then you'll hit that link for sample assessment number 1. And then in order to preview this assessment, you're going to hit the view as a student at the top. And I want you guys just go ahead and go through and preview that assessment and try to answer some of those questions and just kind of see. Don't worry about trying to get all the right answers, but just go through and sample some of those so you can see some of the features. And then I'll give you guys, how about we give you guys 2 minutes to sample that, and then we'll ask for comments or feedback after those 2 minutes. So you guys have 2 minutes. And that timer is being presented on my screen here. So hopefully you can see that. 2 minutes will come back after you guys take that assessment. Again, raise your hand if you're struggling to access that assessment as well. All right, Catherine. So on that Nearpod, you're going to try to click that link. And then you're going to hit this sample assessment number 1 link. And then you should see this view as student at the top. Give me a thumbs up if you're able to get to this screen. Thumbs down. All right, Catherine, go ahead and unmute and let's see if we can answer your question. We'll see where you're at. Hi. Up at the top? Sweet, and then you should see something like what's on my screen here. Yep, that's an example of rounding tolerance. So in here, this says find the area of the circle, so I could find that area, or perimeter. What's it say? Area, pi r squared. Yeah. So the thing to highlight with, all right. Yep. All right. By show in the chat, drop how many more minutes that you need to preview these. Again, don't worry about getting all the correct answers, but how many more minutes do you need in the chat? 1, 2, 3 more minutes, 0 minutes? Drop that in the chat so I know about how much more time we need. I see a 2. How much more time do we need? A lot. Sorry, there's a lot of math questions in there. Math can be challenging. All right. Let's go ahead and go with 1 more minute. I'll give you guys 1 more minute to preview that assessment. Baby's doing great, Mr. Walker. She's a year and a month or so, climbing, running, eating, doing all the little baby things. Doing great. She eats quite a bit. She's in the 97th percentile for BMI. She's a little chunk. 5 seconds. All right. So just to highlight some of those assessment questions here. One of the new features allows for what's called a rounding tolerance. So, some kids use pi or 3.14. So you can set the tolerance of how close their answer needs to be within. If it's within that range, it will mark that as correct. Graphing has improved with Edulastic. We can now graph higher order polynomials, quadratics, sine, cosine, exponential functions, logarithmic functions. So graphing has improved drastically. There's the ability to do tiered test questions, where if the answer to part A is put in, it would give you full credit. But if you do the answer to part B put in, it would give you partial credit. And they're able to do that by using alternate responses and assigning point values to those. I'll ask him at a later time, Ms. Kiefacher. This is being recorded. There's also the ability for students to upload files. And so say the students were going to do an assessment, and the last question you wanted them to show their work on assessment, you could have them upload a file. You could also have them upload a different type of document. Say you're in business and you want them to upload their Excel spreadsheet for their whatever it is that we do with that, the cost and deposit stuff. They can upload a file here. So just want you guys to know that you're able to upload. You can also grade using a rubric as a teacher. That rubric is pretty nice. Also want to show that you guys can create modified assignments. This is big for students with modified diplomas. You can assign those modified assessments to those specific students that are on modified diploma. You can provide more scaffolding with these. Just want you guys to know that that is an option, modified assignments. So 2 different versions. This is a new feature, is being able to highlight sentences. An example here is highlight a sentence that contains actions that reveal character traits. So as I highlight over these, each of the sentences goes highlight, and I would have to highlight the one that shows action. So you could select. There's also a hint. Hints are allowed as well. You can put those in if you would like. For social studies, we can label diagrams, right, Mr. Faitete? So sometimes we do world maps. For geography, we could maybe do a modified one of states maps. And here's an example of states maps. Might want to write out all the words instead of just the abbreviations, but however you want to do that, just an example of labeling a diagram. We have a science video here, the phases of the moon, and this is a resequencing. I can sequence the order of the steps for the moon, however that may go. And this is just a different format of having videos with the questions on the right. This is a passage-based assessment. So this one could be for woodshop, going to show a safety video and then ask some questions about that safety video off to the side. We also have the skeletal labeling, a diagram. Here's another health or science one, depending on your field. Any questions about the types of items that we're asking here? All right, going to show you guys the second sample assessment. This second one is a uploaded PDF. So pros of PDF, you can make PDFs outside of any other software and then upload those into Edulastic. And so this is an example of one. This is all drop-down menus, but you could ask, there's 6 question types that you can put in. Just an example here. This is a little bit limiting. We don't have all the types of questions that you can ask if you were to create that assessment on your own. So just know that you are able to upload PDFs as well. All right. So everyone has their Edulastic screen open, like my screen on the right. To expand your navigating toolbar, you're going to hit this little arrow and you can get a little description of what those are. The top 5 things, 5 tabs here, the dashboard, my playlist, assignments, gradebook, insights, those are all for assignments that you have already assigned or plan to assign to your students. The library down below is for items that you're going to create, or the banks of assignments that have yet to be assigned. So there's the district database, there's the Edulastic database, you can pull from those as well. So just know that that's what the new toolbar is. It's a little bit different than it was before. You guys can click on the managed class and make sure that the text to speech is on there as well. You would click that, you would go to your class, and then you would select the student, and then you can select actions. You can enable text to speech. You can remove students. You're going to have less freedom with this since we do use Clever, so you won't have as much control with it because it does sync with Clever, but the text to speech, you can make sure it's enabled. Questions? Thumbs up if you're ready to move on. Thanks, Nancy, Julio, Brianna, Fino, thanks. Mr. Pregassis? Yes. New feature? Yes. So this is one place you can do that. You could also do it in the gradebook, so I didn't know you could do it from this screen. But yeah, so say you wanted to go through and select all your SPED students, you could go through and add a new group and say SPED, and then you could add them to that group. Now the benefit of that, you can go to your gradebook in here and you can select just that group, and then you can see how you're serving that special population. SPED, EL, any other groups as well. Why do I have a check mark in Google user column? So if we logged in with Google, or Edulastic and Google kind of sync. So if you're a Google user, that should be checked, meaning that you are a Google user. As Delfino said right there, a little bit more eloquently. All right, so again, that add to groups, that's new. There's also this merge students, which I don't foresee us having any issues, but before you would sometimes get the same student with multiple accounts. You could then merge those 2 accounts together. We shouldn't have any issues with that because we are using Clever. Mr. Wattenberger, we are going to ask about the different types of questions here in a minute when we go to create new items and a new assessment. So we will get to that. But thank you. I'll come back to you when we get there. All right. So moving on. So here's where actually we're going to create a new assessment or item. So go to your toolbar, navigation toolbar, and then click on tests down below. Hopefully everyone is following along here. We are all going to create a new assignment, new test. Click on test. Here, depending on what filters you already have preset, you can see all the different assignments that are in the different libraries. You can use these subject standards, standard set, collections. Collections is nice if you want to just look at our district compared to the public or Edulastic libraries, but there's tons of different assignments in here that you can use. One thing that someone showed me before is, say I found this assignment and I really like this assignment from somebody else, but it's public, it's not even in our district. We can hit this clone, which means we're going to duplicate it. And then we would change the name. But even in here, some of these, I didn't make these. So if I wanted to, maybe try to edit this, maybe. Before I thought you were able to duplicate the question and then be able to edit. So you can add or remove different questions from this library. You can hit review. Here's where it is. So I can view the question, but say I can't change this question. So then I would hit this duplicate or clone this question, and then I can make changes to that question there if I want to change it up. So you can beg, borrow, and steal from Edulastic, but even if you want to tweak it a little bit differently, you would clone the assignment and then go through and clone the question if you want to change that question up. And then you can go remove items as well. Questions about that? Mr. Wattenberger, anything relative to that, or is it on the different question types coming up? All right. When we get closer to that, I'll come back to you. All right, so I'm going to go back to test, new test in the upper right-hand corner. So everyone click on your test and then new test in the upper right-hand corner. Little blue button there which says new test. Now we have two different types. We're going to go over each of these. The first one is creating a test from scratch. And that widens up. There's tons of options that we have for our types of questions. The PDF is a little bit limiting, but we'll get to that. So then we're going to create that test. Go ahead and title that test maybe a sample test. Everyone should be creating their own. You can put in a description, the grade, your subject. One of the features down here is tags. This helps you to be able to search for those assessments that you've created before if you're having a hard time finding it, or maybe colleagues. So one I did for this was Edulastic Training 2020. I created a tag for this training. You guys could create one that is specific to your PLC, maybe biology unit 1, or social studies unit 2, world language unit 1, whatever it may be. And then up at the top is how we're going to navigate through this. So we're going to go to add items. And just like before, these are all the different items that we could add to it that's from our library that we're in. But most of the time, we're most likely going to create a new item, which is exactly what we want. And Mr. Wattenberger, what was the type of question you had on here? Mm-hmm. Okay, so I think that might be under highlighting and then sentence. Actually, let me go back. So add items. I went too fast. Create new item. And so under highlight, We're going to select highlight and then sentence responses. So here, highlight the nouns in the sentence. I don't know what that is. That would be your text, I would assume. Just going to steal something from somewhere. Okay. Now, correct answers. Looks like it's only allowing a sentence, so I want the entire sentence as opposed to just a word. I might have to play around with this and I'll have to get back to you. All right, highlighting words. All right, I'll have to get back to you on that one. All right. So go ahead and select a question that you would like to add. So create new item. We see the types of questions over here on the left. We have multiple choice. We have fill in the blanks with math as well. Drop downs, labeling diagrams. You can classify or reorder. Writing, you can have them write a response and then add a rubric. Here's that file upload, like we were saying before, so you guys can have them upload a copy of their work and such. I think this passes base is the one where it could be more easily used or readily used, where we can insert videos. So I'm going to show you guys how to do that one. So we're going to put a title. And here we have to, we'll delete our text or passage, but then we can import or insert this video here. So if you guys already have a YouTube video, you'll click on that video. It's going to ask for the link or even an embedded code. Maybe you guys recorded a video or you have one saved. You can upload it as well. But you would paste that URL there and it would insert a video. So let's search one real quick. And paste that there. Now once we have that video inserted, then we have to hit save before we can add questions to it. Some people get stuck and they're like, where do I add the questions? So once I have that video there, then I'm going to go add first part, or I can add questions here. And then I can select from all the different question types that I want here. So in here, let's say we want to go over some math ones with this math text or drop down. This is kind of like a multi-part before. It gives us all four, but we only need one. But I do want to highlight some of the new features that are new with math. So in our math input, the text and text drop down are pretty much the same, but the math input, we can use these additional options, and there's some new features in here. Before we had to add in all the different types of correct answers. Mr. Garrigous, I see your question, and I'll get to that in just a minute. So you can use symbolically equivalent, you can have literally equivalent or equivalent syntax. So before you had to type in all the different responses, say like 2x, 2 times x, as long as they were symbolically equivalent, it would mark that as, it's now going to mark that as correct, and we don't have to put in all those different responses. You can check some of these that we've had those options before, if they're factors, simplified, rationalized, all those. One of the other new ones is the allow tolerance, where you can set a range of values that they have. So say some kids use pi, some use the pi button. You can say how close the answer needs to be in order to mark that correct. David, you have a question, or is that from before? Awesome. Okay. You can also make sure that they have significant decimal places, meaning say they need to go the 100th, they need to have 2 decimal places. It'll make sure that that happens as well. For language arts or other writing subjects, you can have it where it ignores the case or allows a single letter mistake if they're typing a response. So new features there. Adding the alternate answers right here is where, so say this question was worth 4 points for the correct answer, and say the correct answer was 2, but I know a common error, say they get 1 because they forgot to do the last step, I can award 2 points to that, and so it automatically does that grading, and I don't have to go back and do the partial credit. So that's a new feature there, is assigning point values for alternate answers in math. You could also do that with the text as well. All right. Then we're going to create whatever. You can hit save or delete ones I don't have. All right. Well, cancel out of that. So we have something that looks like this now for our assessment. I think we went over each of these. Oh, rubric grading. So say we want to save this video passage now. Item saving is failing. Lovely. Okay, let's get out of here, hopefully. Okay, rubrics. So let's say we go to writing. We want a text response. We can insert a question, explain the reasons why World War II started. I don't know. So we're going to click on here on grading rubric. Now, if we already have an existing rubric that we've uploaded, you can just import it here. So you can use that same rubric over and over on different assignments. Say like the essential skills math assessment. You can click that here. We can insert that rubric. And we already have it saved. And now that rubric will be there in the grading. So you can use rubrics here. We can preview what they're going to see. You can also create tags, standards, and tie all that stuff there. Can't really show you how to grade since I haven't assigned this yet, but there is that. Okay, so back to your question, Mr. Gergus, about sharing. So back to sharing. Up here we have these, well, you can publish it here first, maybe. So on the sharing, you hit the 3 little buttons. You can share this with individuals, say Mr. Gergus, and I'm giving him rights where he can edit, add, or remove items to this assessment, or I can make it where you can only view and then duplicate that. So I'm going to give him rights to this, and I can hit share, and now I can see who is shared with this, if it's a specific person. Once I publish this, which I don't know why, descriptor needs grade. You can publish. I can also change this from my private library to the district library and hit share so I can see who has access to it here. Could also do that in the test by clicking that same three buttons in the upper left hand corner, and maybe I also want it shared to the school library. And so it lists everyone who has access to this assessment. Chris Garrigou, did that answer your question there about how to adjust the sharing settings? Mr. Garrigou? All right. Moving on. We had a question. Well, Chris, I can meet up with you one-on-one and discuss that as well. Ms. Dutton, you had a question about common assessment or class assessment. So common assessment is going to be one that you could use within your PLC. We now have the enterprise account. So now that admin can view the common assessments that are put in there, they can also collect data on that. I haven't dug into all the new features on what the admin are able to do and view on that, but we might be able to run reports for the PLCs. So you can have that in one location or in one document, so that you guys can maybe do some PLC stuff a little bit easier. You might have to check in with your admin on that, and or a coach has access to that as well, so we might be able to help run some of those reports if you guys would like. But we'll have to dig in a little bit more as we get it. People actually assigning common assessments in the future. All right. Any more questions about the different items or different types of questions that you can assign? All right. So we also need to go over how to upload a PDF. So let's go back to the test, and then now we're going to go create new test. But this time, instead of creating it from scratch, we're going to see if we have a PDF of something already saved. Maybe you had a worksheet that you guys used last year. Maybe you had some notes in a different template that you're able now to get a PDF. We can hit upload, and then we can either upload from a file, from Drive, or you can create a blank one. Uploads work the best. I've had some troubles using the Drive. It's not connecting and all my stuff's not pulling up. I also have downloaded the Google Drive file stream, which allows me to access my Google Drive in my files. So I'm going to select one of my PDFs that I have. Let's go Trig Review. Still got to name the test or assignment. And then go to the worksheet. And we can see everything that was in that. So you can see some of these, it looks kind of small because I had a big document. So one of the suggestions I have is maybe put whatever you want in, say, Google Slides, and then print the slides so that it's easily viewed. So the better the PDF is, the smaller and better presentation it has, the better it's going to show up here in Edulastic, because all this is kind of small and hard for the students to read. But let's say I want to add some questions to this. So say I want to do math. I'm going to do one question, say the answer's 2.4. I can select grade, standard, once I have the standard, subject, standard, common core. And then I can hit done. Now, right now it's not placed on the assignment. I need to grab the number and pull it to where it needs to go for them to be able to type it in. You can also add bulk. So say I'm going to do a bunch of the same types of ones. I can add bulk. How many of those questions do I need? That way I have the same I don't have to go back and redo this for every single question and tie it to standards or all that. I can add all of them and then just go back and then I can select the answers. Maybe I did a little too many that time. But then I would still have to go place these where they're supposed to be. Now we are limited in the types of questions that we are able to ask. We can see there's 6 types of questions. We can do multiple choice, we can do a text entry, drop down, math, true false, or an essay. So not as many types of questions as we can when we're doing the create your own. So it is limited. And then you can go review. There's other types of settings in here that we can do. Require password. So when assigning this, we can do a time test. Now there's 2 different versions. So say I give them 10 minutes. If I don't select this 10 minutes starts the first time they open it and it runs throughout. If I do select this, the kids can open it and say they're in for a minute. They can close it and then come back later and still have 9 minutes. So this one allows them to come back and continue working on it, and the remainder of the time is the remainder of time that they have. Everything else is pretty... Oh, we can change what happens when the score is released. You cannot release the scores. You can release only the scores and the student responses, or the scores, the student responses, and the correct answers. You have the options of what you're going to release, just like we did before. So I'm going to go ahead and publish this. And again, I can change the library here on where I would like that to be saved. Questions about PDFs? Ask now or forever hold your peace. Not really. You can ask us coaches later if you don't think of anything right now. Alrighty. So we already went over this, the sharing of an assessment through this screen here. Any questions about sharing? Give me a thumbs up if you're all good on sharing assessments. So Miss Moss, all students are able to log in with Clever to get into Edulastic, and then on their dashboard, whatever assignments have been assigned to them and are open will show up on that dashboard. And you can post in Google Classroom a link to Edulastic, and then they'll log into Edulastic, and that assessment will be on their dashboard if it's assigned and open and ready to go. Hopefully I answered your question. Yep. All right, I saw lots of thumbs up of people good on sharing, so we're going to move on. New feature here is playlist. So that playlist is the 3rd one in this section here. So go ahead and select playlist. Everyone click on playlist and go ahead and clear out any filters that you have. Clear out any filters. So again, playlist under the library. Sandra, you have extra classes. That should be Miss Jen Cox, I believe. She's still helping out with Edulastic and Clever. So I would contact, Sandra Weiss, sorry. You're going to contact Jen Cox. Copy. All right, so under playlist, essentially a playlist is a sequence of assignments or assessments that you have created, and you can mass sign them all at once. And so we're going to go through a model 1 here. You cleared out all your stuff. You can click in tags and search Edulastic Training 2020. And you should see one popped up called Solving Equations Playlist. And I'm going to model or demonstrate this for you guys. And you guys can click through and preview it as well, so you can actually see what's going on. So everyone click on the Solving Equations playlist. And again, this is just one example I created, like a demo one. But I can essentially assign a sequence of assignments for maybe a lesson, a unit that you would like. So here I decided to do an I do, we do, you do for an assignment. So we're going to preview off to the right here. what the I do looks like. So essentially, I just created a video where I found one on YouTube, but you guys might create your own with direct instruction with some asking some questions about that video there. Maybe I do a second part of the video with some follow-up questions, and that's my I do. More modeling, less of them actually doing. Then we're going to do a we do with one-step equations, even though I think the first question on here is a two-step because I copied it. So here I did a little bit more scaffolded. What is the given operation? Given operation is subtraction. What's the inverse operation of subtraction? Addition. What do I put in the blanks here? I'm going to add 5 to both sides. And then what's the value of x? Well, if I do that, I get 17. So it's a little bit more scaffolded there. I don't think I have the check responses. If you assign it and you assign it where students can check responses, you can also have students check their answer. Especially during the we do, you might increase the number of checks that they have, but then when they get to the you do or the assessment, you might decrease the number of checks. All right, so that's an example. I just went through and did one of each type of question. Then I went on to a we do with 2 steps equations. So again, ask some more scaffolding questions. Then I went on to a you do where I just uploaded a CUDA worksheet and put in the questions here. Oh, I'm having a hard time viewing, so I'm going to minimize this. If you guys see the plus minus, that's just so you can see that there. But you can see the different pages here. And maybe you do that out of the textbook or something. But you can upload PDFs. And then so say they get a 70% or higher on all that, now they're ready for their assessment. You have data to support that they're ready for their test. This could be done during asynchronous learning, or this could be done for a student, say they missed class and you have this ready to go for students that missed a day. They could go through and do this. You could create some sort of playlist, John Knits, say create a playlist that's for SDI, and then you assign that every 2 weeks, collect data to see if they're making progress towards that SDI. Lots of different things to use with playlists. So, short response. Get you guys engaged. You've been sitting and getting. So, describe how you might envision using playlists in your classroom. How could you use playlists in your classroom on distance learning? You guys have different fields, different backgrounds. Let's try to steal the ideas that we all have. Go ahead and jot down some responses. How might you use playlists? Miss Dunton, students can pause the test and restart only if you have the test open, or if you have it as a time test with that check marks box selected. You have ultimate control as a teacher. You can pause a test, you can close a test. If you have it open and you have it as a time test, you can select it so that they can come back in. So they're all in the settings for you to have that control. Quick check for preparedness for a retake assessment. Great. You could have done that, Mr. McDonald, in the Nearpod assignment as well. Yes, Ms. Dunn, you can assign it for a particular date range and when that is assigned to open and or close. Make a set of assignments for a week's worth. So I have 9% engagement using Nearpod here, 15% engagement. Just so you guys can see what Nearpod looks like as a teacher view. You can manually open and close those as well. Yep, Fino, you are correct. Slappy Joe says retakes, fool. right, we'll give you guys, let's say, 1 more minute to finish your response. Again, I see I only have 17% engagement right now. Participation, not very high. Probably got some people doing other things in there, it looks like. But 100% attention. Yes, Miss Terry. About 15 seconds before we move on. All right, so I wanted to share that you guys can share some of the students' responses when it's these essay type responses. So let's go ahead and share. Right now I'm sharing Mr. Pergassis. He says he can assign a set of assignments to a class with their week's worth of assignments, I assume it says. I can't see the rest of it. A week's worth of work. Put all past quizzes in a playlist to serve as a review. Mr. Osorio, great idea. To record audio in the response. There's a way of recording audio as a response. You can upload that as well. Ms. Davis says, keep up with your presentation and a student who needs one-on-one teaching. So step-by-step directions. Very nice. All right, so probably the biggest bang for your buck here that hasn't changed from last year to this year is the live data that you get while students are taking the assessment. So as students take the assessment, you can see common trends as they're coming in. So say maybe your answer key was wrong or everyone's getting number 2 wrong. You can address the entire class or, hey, everybody should go back and recheck number 2. One of the powerful tools that Edulastic provides. So I'm just going to show some of the different live features that you have. Going into my assignments, my playlist, and I'm going to select an assignment that I've done prior where I have some responses. So this is the screen here. Why do I only have one student? Interesting. So I was going to show you guys how to redirect. You can select the box here and then hit redirect. You could do this when a student say missed and didn't attend. I'll try to slow down. So thanks, Laura Lee, for that feedback. So we're going to click on assignments off to the left. You guys probably don't have any assignments already assigned. Maybe you do. But we're going to select one of our assignments. And then we should get that live data here. And so in order to redirect a student, say a student want to go back and retry that same assessment, or they need to finish and you already closed it, or they were gone that day, you would select that box and hit redirect, which sends that assessment back to them. You could also say a student left. You can submit someone's assessment. You can mark them as absent. You can remove students. This is also where you could download their grades and analyze the grades via Excel. Ms. Cretion, you don't think students liked the redirect button last year? I think it just depends on how we use that redirect. Usually the redirect should save their answers, and they can go back and change. Now you don't want to release those answers so that they know which ones are right or wrong, unless you want to increase the rigor. but generally the students like a second attempt. Oh, well, we'll see. Um, one of the best things about using this is, say I get all the data back, is how does this actually inform my instruction? So based on the data, you guys can see here, question 2 is one that was commonly missed. Now that can mean one of two things. Maybe my answer key was wrong, or maybe I didn't teach it very well and my students are struggling in that area. So I would use that question type, maybe do an error analysis on that common error, maybe the following day in my entry task, to help address whatever that common error is. So using these toolbars, you can see what those common errors are. You can click on a question and see which question was incorrect there too. So can be powerful. All right, moving on. In you guys' assignment tabs, just going to show you guys how we can filter. So everyone click on assignments. On the left here, assignments. And then these little triangle bars here is where we can see the filters. Now, when we get into this year and we have, 100 assignments assigned to all our different classes, we're going to want to learn how to filter those assignments. So we can filter by subject, year, the types, but probably most importantly is going to be your class. Which class do you want to filter by? And so you can get to that assignment for that class a little bit easier. You can also create folders. So say I created this lesson, I want to move it to a folder. I would select that box next to that assessment and I would hit move. So maybe I move it to Math 7 Unit 1 if it's a unit, Math 7 Unit 1 assessment or such. So you can create folders over here to help keep yourself organized and find previously assigned assignments as one way to stay organized. Similarly, in gradebook, so gradebook is the one right below that. And select gradebook now. This has the grades for all my different classes with all my kids. So again, we want to be able to filter those. Maybe I only want to look at one particular class. Under class, you could select what class it is, so it only pulls up that student. In here is where we can add to student groups. So if I had all my students here, I could go through, select all whatever kids, say all my sped kids or all my EL kids or special populations, or maybe my tag kids. I could go through and create a group. And if there's not already one selected here, maybe I can add a new group if I wanted. As you can see, you could also do that in managed class, but you can do it under gradebook as well. And then once I have that, I can filter, possibly, by group, I thought. Oh, I just select the student groups over here. So then these students would pop up, just my sped kids, and then I could see how they're doing on their assignments. Now, I haven't assigned these kids anything, but you could view how they're doing and all that if I'm serving that population correctly. All right, we are right at 3:20. So if there are any questions, anybody got any specific questions about Edulastic that was not addressed in this? All right, if you think of any questions, you can email your coach, or you can schedule maybe with your PLC a meeting. If you guys want help maybe creating that first assignment in Edulastic as a PLC, we can go through and walk through it. It says I can copy what's in the chat into a doc. Okay. Like I was just saying, Mr. McDonald, if you would like some more support with your PLC on creating some of this, we can schedule that. I'm available. The other coaches are available. Check in with them and see if you would like any small group training on that. There is a little survey. If you felt like this training was useful on that next slide in Nearpod, if you would like, provide just a little bit of feedback or me a little bit of feedback. If there's nothing else, try to fill out that survey and then have a good rest of your day. It is 3:20.